All right, let's go. We'll go a little bit early. Why not? What's up, everybody? I have a ton of editing that I need to do today, and thankfully, my college football team has the week off. Can't lose today if you're the Michigan Wolverines. But I am going to do this and edit with Descript. And the reason why I decided to go live and do this as a demo, and I've got Descript open here, as well as, kind of showing you sort of my process here that I use with my devices, and is that I've been asked to be on a couple of shows upcoming specifically for this, and realized I didn't really have a way to, edit publicly and have, people, chime in. So if you're watching, or watching on the replay, feel free to ask any questions related to any of this stuff. I'm just going to go through and kind of talk as I go in terms of how I edit my vertical videos, shorts, reels, and all of those things on the various platforms: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc. So if you're not familiar with Descript, and maybe you're here and you're like, I've heard about it, I've heard a lot of creators that use it. This is probably not the most basic thing ever. I'm going to do my best and sort of describe things as I go. I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence or level of acumen in terms of what they know or don't know about this program. But it is very, very powerful, and we'll get into how this works and a couple of sort of housekeeping things that I like to do. So if you use Descript and you use it for a lot of video, I'll show you a few tricks to keep your hard drive from exploding after doing a bunch of these. So first and foremost, I'm going to show you here how about this? Yeah, this is brought to you by Doc Pops, where you can look fresh and sound fresh. That's what I've got going on right here. Shout out to Doc Rock and Doc Pops for some really cool looking SM7B and all kinds of other microphones that they have different colors for. But in any event, this, in case you haven't seen this, it's not like super, I don't see it used a lot from a lot of different content creators. I love it. It's called a TourBox Elite. And some people use Stream Decks and the newer Stream Decks. I do have a Stream Deck here that I use really just for switching scenes in Ecamm Live, as well as StreamYard and grabbing screen grabs. It does a bunch of different stuff. Changes profiles for you, all kinds of great, really cool things. But I needed something that was more tactile for editing, and obviously just using the keyboard and the mouse was just not going to cut it for me. There's just too many, there are shortcuts in a lot of programs like Final Cut, which I use primarily for editing. And even in Descript, there's a ton of hotkeys that you can use, but also the ability to shrink things and move things in different directions really needs these dials and these knobs, and in addition to buttons. And so I was really excited to get to try this thing, and it is awesome. And you could program it really for anything. So I've got a program for Ecamm. I've got a program for Descript, which I'll show you here. Logic Pro X, which I use for editing audio, as well as Final Cut. And this is really my Final Cut sort of way of doing it. And it kind of looks like a cool sort of odd little Nintendo controller. And I don't know why. It just works for me. It may not work for you, but that's sort of my process. And I kind of use this little combination of this with the keyboard, and we'll sort of get into it here, and I'll kind of show you under the hood here on Descript. Basically, I have all of my clients and stuff for myself over here in folders. So it's really important to make sure you don't just throw everything into your workspace. Create a folder tree for specific things. Even if you're just a solo creator and you're just creating stuff for yourself, you should segment it into different sort of themes or whatever, or things can get really out of hand. So I have these separated into clients, but I also, like, within that, I also have folders for the shows that I've been on, things that are specific to my business there, and then of course, anything that is related to my clients, episodes that I also edit here from a video perspective. And so one quick thing, I'm going to give you a little bit of a pro tip with Descript before we get into actually chopping things up. And that is, this is video. And so some of this video is 4K. Some of it is, 1080. Some of it's even 720. But the more you work with video, the more you're going to realize just how much space it will take up for you. And so Descript inherently will, it needs to work on the files on your computer. So you're going to need to have these files basically downloaded onto your computer in order for you to edit them. And so when you're done with them, it will still stay on your computer. But in order for you to clear the space on your local computer and, still keep those files somewhere, and in this case on the cloud for Descript, you could go here to your projects, which is here at the top. And this gives you all of the projects, you've ever worked on in Descript. Obviously, I spent a lot of time in here, but you can see on these files, some of them you'll see this little start download, and most of these that I'm not using, they didn't automatically do this. So when I'm done with a particular file, especially if they're sizable, like some of these projects are, close to 15 gigs in size. So what you want to do is, right here, I'm gonna edit this one today, so I'm not going to send it back up to the cloud, so to speak, or I should say take it off of my local hard drive, is you would go over here to these little three dots, click on it, and then you would click on Remove Download, and that would take it off of your local hard drive, but you still can download it later. It will end up looking like this, with this little cloud to download, and you can download it back onto your computer if you need to edit it later. So that's just a thing that trust me, when you're done and I'm not going to go back and edit anything within this file, at least for a week or more, go ahead and remove that download. Remember to do it when you're done editing it, and that way you don't have to worry about your hard drive all of a sudden running out of space, because these videos can get pretty huge. Anyway. All right, let's go in and edit something. And if you've got any questions, if anybody's out there watching and wants to know anything about this stuff, feel free to ask, and I will answer as best as I can. So let's go into, so here's a show I did. I was a guest on Katie Brinkley's Rocky Mountain Marketing. Here's a case study. Here's a creator collab podcast that I was on with James Hicks and Melanie Diane Howe. Let's go ahead and do that, and I'll pull this up. Now, the process here is when you are on a show, or in this case, I was on a show with two other people, and James, who ran the show, ran it in Ecamm Live and had it set to record locally all of, an ISO video or an ISO video for each guest that was in the show. So when the show was over with, he had these, big files, some of them, a gig plus, on his computer, and they were localized files. And then after the show, I said, James, can you send these to me? And certainly, if you're a podcaster yourself and you want to do shows, always record ISO videos, because it's going to give you both the isolated video file as well as the isolated audio file, which you can use for an audio podcast as well. Most of the time, you're going to get both, and the isolated or individual audio track is not going to be nearly as large as the isolated video file. But having those individual video files is key for programs like this, and I'll show you why. So basically, when he sends me those three files, in this case, one file for me, one file for Melanie Diane Howe, and one file for James, he sends them over, and all I do in Descript is I drag and drop them into Descript, and I just go up to, let me go back here to here, and I would just say, let's just say new, let's just say new folder, and you see here where it says new project. I click new project, and it's a video project, okay? And it's going to look like this. And then here I would grab those 3 files from off of my hard drive, and I would drag them into Descript. I'm just going to go ahead and drag files just to give you an idea of that. Now, they're going to be completely unrelated files probably, but it'll just give you an idea. I'm just going to grab a video file. How about that? And drag them over into here, okay? And then what it's doing at this point is it's analyzing it. And then it's going to ask you if it should, right here, do you want to combine these 2 files into a multi-track sequence? It's going to transcribe them, so it's automatically transcribing it. Now, if you want to set it so that it doesn't automatically transcribe this is just an example file, so I'm just doing a sound check here, and that, I don't know why I grabbed those 2 files, just to give you an idea. You can set it so that it asks you every time before it transcribes. And the reason why you would do that is sometimes you'll drag files in you don't really even need a transcription for, at least not initially, or you may have inadvertently added something in there and you don't want a transcription. The more transcribing minutes in Descript, the more it goes against your allocated hours for a month for the cost for Descript. So in this case, I've got 2 different cameras, right? Camera A and camera B, and then it asks me for a speaker name for each one of these, okay? And so if you know camera A is Chris Stone, and camera B is, in this, I don't know, we'll just say James Hicks, even though we know it's not really. And then enter. It's assigning me to camera A, James to camera B, and then it will combine these 2 files into a multi-track sequence, right? And then when you do that, it takes all of the guests in the video, in the podcast, and creates a sequence, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to close out of this just because we don't need this, but I just wanted to show you that process of how I pull this into it. So I'm going to go back to the folder that I was in, which is Creator Collab Solo. And this file, this project right here is called Creator Collab ISO video. So I know that this is the one that has all 3 of us in the podcast. I've already created a sequence for this file. At the very bottom, you can't see this because I have I'm going to go ahead and close this out of here because I haven't begun editing yet and you won't be able to see that. But if I click Show Timeline, it's going to show basically sound waves. Any DAW that you have, you're going to be able to see this, whether it's Audacity or Adobe Audition or in this case Descript or whatever. You're going to be able to see this along the bottom, which is basically showing you, and you can see there's different colors. These different colors are the different speakers. So this is where, it says right here, this is where James talks. And then right here is where Mel talks, okay? And so that's just to give you an idea of how that looks along the bottom. Now, I've already sized this to vertical, but I'll show you how I did this. You see right up here at the top is where you can change your aspect ratio. So your aspect ratios can be landscape, so that's wide, for a basic YouTube video, or if you want to post that on LinkedIn. Various platforms, some of them use landscape video, looks fine. Portrait is what I have it set at, 9:16 aspect ratio, and then you can make a square. And then there's other where you can get a little bit more fancy if you want to do that. But just like any video or graphic program, these are actually layers. My layer right now currently is on the top. That's why you can only see me. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go down to this at the bottom and I'm going to right click on it. If it lets me, there we go. And I'm going to click Edit Sequence. And so at this point, you're going to see the actual videos from each of us. Here's James. This is his ISO video right here. And he's actually on the top here. Here's me as I click on that. That's my ISO video here. And then here is Mel here along the bottom. Let's get her to where her eyes are open. So there she is. She's smiling at us now. And so now you can see kind of the way this works is, let me expand it back out so you can kind of see. Now you could see how the podcast works. Looks like James and Mel were talking. It looks like they probably introduced me right about this point. I come on, and then we're going back and forth, as you can see. So just like any particular DAW, this is way a sequence is working. It took those videos, sequenced it into how this looks here. The reason why you would need to edit a sequence, as you can see, I did this a couple of times right here. Every once in a while, you talk over each other. So sometimes you would need to edit out coughs or somebody's talking over each other, that kind of stuff. And so when you're editing a particular video and all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I wish Chris didn't interrupt Mel when she was saying that, you can actually go into the sequence here, right here into the file and edit this out. I'm going to bring back in my layer that shows my editing because I am using the toolbox to do this because I've set this scrolling. I'm just setting the table here for the editing, which I'm going to do here in a minute. Okay, and I've set the plus minus on the bottom of the sequence onto this scrolling wheel. So as I'm moving up and down on the scrolling wheel, you can see it's much easier for me instead of hitting Control plus and minus to kind of make things and using the keyboard to do that or trying to do the mouse or any of that kind of stuff. I've got a program to do that there. I've got a blade programmed here, play, pause programmed here. So when you start cranking on doing editing, you'll get the flow of how this works and your mind will eventually it'll be like riding a bike. All right, so I'm going to hit done on this. And like I said, these are layers. And the way to alternate between the layers, there's easy way to do it and a hard way to do it. If I just right click on this, you're going to see you can select any one of these layers that you want, or you can go layer order. And of course, with everything there is hotkeys, and that's right next to it. So you can program those hotkeys into your device, whether it's a loop deck, stream deck, or in my case, a toolbox. And once you start to figure it out, but the layering is key, especially when we're talking about doing these vertical videos. The layering is key, so you'll need to make sure you keep track of that. And so as I click on me, if I want to send me to the back, I'm going to get this visible here. I would hit this bracket key right here. And when I do that, it sends me to the back and James is on top at this point. And if I click back on the James layer and then I hit the bracket again, we see Mel. So that is how the layering will work. That's key when you're actually, chopping up these clips and you want to go, layer to layer, but I'm going to show you another function, which is called automatic multicam, which is a really cool function of Descript. If you want to go person to person to person to person. And when you do that, it'll create scenes for you. And then you could start going in and altering it. And we'll start to show you how that works. All right. So this is the entire conversation. Okay. Not a super fantastic video to use a vertical. Just, this is as basic as it gets. So what I like to do here is I like to do something, go up to, as a starter, this is an AI thing that's built into Descript. And that is, you say, create clips. Create clips. Underlord is the cool name Descript gives their AI beast or whatever you want to call it. So ask create clips, and then here's the other function of it. It's going to this is interesting. There we go. I don't know what that first thing was. Weird. All right, so here here it asks you the number of clips and then the clip duration, and then it'll ask you if you want to use their particular layout. You also can do your own layout and create a template, and we'll get into that. That's kind of a next level thing. And when you go to see more layouts, right here you have a gallery for stuff that they've given you. that you can use for layouts, but also if you've got a private gallery and you use these for your particular shows, like I have for a number of shows that I've used, you can use your existing template. But I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say 60 seconds, and let's just create 5 clips from generally 60 plus or minus seconds clips from Descript. And then the topic is going to be content creation. And then, might want to spell it right. And then submit. And Underlord is thinking, for God's sake, clean as you cook, says Underlord. I guess that's a good tip, Underlord. Maybe. All right. Doesn't take too long, usually, even on a longer interview like this. Here we go. So it looks like we've got 5 clips. Some of them are 79, some 59, some 77, 73, and this one is 52. Now, some of them may be better than others. You'll be able to determine that. And then certainly if they're longer than 59 seconds, and if you wanted to keep them 59 seconds or shorter because, a short, you want it under 59 seconds, although they are able to be longer at this point. You can adjust that. So the first one says, success requires hard work, not shortcuts. This clip captures a motivational message about dedication and hard work, while also touching on the limitations of AI, making it both inspirational and relevant. It's a compelling standalone remark that encourages perseverance and speaks to current technological debates. That one's pretty good. Kind of long, though, right? This one here, think before you post, the internet never forgets. This clip is impactful and resonates broadly with creators and social media users as it highlights the permanence and lasting impact of online content. All right, let's click on that one. Why not? So when you click on that, it's going to bring in this. It's already given me a show name and some captions, but we're going to change all of this. And remember, this brings in the layers as you imported it. So we're going to change things from here. So don't worry about, oh my gosh, Melanie is talking, but we're seeing James sipping coffee here. Don't worry about it. So one thing you could do is change your layer to Melanie. Remember, I told you about hitting the bracket key, which would drop him back, and now we have Melanie speaking. And if we hit play, we're going to hear
everything you put out there could be out there forever. So it's always sustainable in a way. But what's interesting is that I think that part of being sustainable and maintaining sustainability by putting information out there. By the way, I got to say hi to Park Bros. Lawrence Wilson's in the house. Good to see you here. Listen.
Okay. I can tell you already I'm going to edit that out because this is a live video, and she just was talking, and then all of a sudden she just saw somebody in the chat and she said hi to him. So the cool thing about Descript is you can just go in and pull out the words and it will chop right where it said. And she said, by the way. So, and then let's grab that section right before listen. And then I'm hitting backspace and I'm deleting it. And so
everything you put out there could be out there forever. So it's always sustainable in a way. But what's interesting is that I think that part of being sustainable and maintaining sustainability by putting information out there. Listen, the longer your content's out there, the more subject you are to criticism.
All right, she's saying the same thing. So I'm going to, this is another editing thing, is the longer your content's out there, the more subject you're to criticism. We're shortening it a little bit. The other thing you could do is, as a pattern interrupt, since we did a hard edit right there, here's a trick for Descript users. It's your friend the backslash key. So that's going to create a scene for us. So when I click slash right here, you're going to see that the scene is going to pop up right underneath the first scene. So we're here, and I'm going to hit slash, and you see another scene pop up. So at this point, you can create something else completely on this particular scene And let's just say, for example, we want to create a scene that has her on it, and I'm resizing her to go to the top. And here's me, and I'm going to put me down here, and then put James. We'll get him down from here. Nope, we don't have him. Now we have him. Sometimes you got to get yourself together in terms of, I'm not even sure what this is. And we're going to clean this up. But this is a scene that you can create multiple times in your podcast. So if you get this particular scene, and we'll clean this up, like I said, I really don't even know what this thing is. Let me look at these layers over here. In the scene, we have, so this, I guess this grabbed a template, and I have this gradient here. So I'm just going to I'm going to hide that gradient. I'm also going to hide these captions for now. Now what I did here is I went over to scene, and then you can see your layers here, and it's got 3 of us. It has a title that was added as a part of this template, and it's got captions and some sort of gradient, which I don't really love. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to get this aesthetically pleasing. We're going to make Mel a little bit bigger here, and we're going to center her. Then I'm going to get myself sized more properly in here. And James has a lot of headroom here. So what I like to do here is there's a couple things we can do. Get him to where he's kind of commensurate with me and get him sized up to where we look generally, I realize I have a really big head, but, I'm going to get him about that. And you could see the outline of his scene right here. You go up to this crop, and the reason why this is important is because, again, this is going to make your life easier when you're editing, when you're able to do things like this. If I can grab a hold of it, geez, sometimes, there we go. And then we hit done, and let's get her back in here. Not fantastic. There is lines here, so you can see how I've got it to where it's in the middle. And as I drag it, it stopped me with that red line. That lets me know, hey, you're in the middle of this. And now I can grab James and pull him right to the center. And so now we know this is completely centered. He's a little bit bigger than me here, so we're going to bring down his crop a smidge. And now we're lined up. All right, so now we have this scene, which is scene 2. And if I hit play on my tour box.
The longer your content's out there, the more subject you are to criticism.
All right.
It's as simple as that.
So couple things. Number one, I see James kind of like looking over, but his face goes off. So what I like to do here is let's bring him over to where he's a little bit more, we don't lose him. And then go back here.
Listen,
see him here.
The longer your content's out there,
in the back,
the more
right?
subject you are to criticism.
He's still centered.
It's as simple as that.
So that's going to help you later. If you set this as a template and save this as a template, you know that when James moves around, he's still going to be in the frame. You're not going to have this frame where it's like he's out of the frame too much. All right, so now we have basically 2 things. Here again, in the first scene, I'm going to take out the captions and the title and this gradient. I don't know why that's even in here. All right, so you've got 2 scenes. Again, this video is going to be 46.7 seconds long. I've already edited out something where she said hello to somebody in the chat. So it could be even less than that. That's fine. And you can listen to it all the way through. And maybe you get to the end and you're like, ooh, it cut it. Again, no matter how great these programs are, always as a human, go in there and don't just take what they give you. I wish there was a little bit more to be said at this point. Or make an edit like she said hi to somebody in the chat or something like that. Go in as a human and do this kind of stuff. I realize this is probably taking longer than you thought you would on a vertical video that's only 46 seconds. I'm not talking through this normally. Normally I'm going through this like this and I'm already done with this particular video, but I'm explaining this as I go, and I want to make sure that people understand how this works. Got any questions? Please give me a question, and I'd love to answer it. All right, here we go. So I want to add some captions to this thing. We have these other captions that were added that I've got that are that we've hidden. I'm just going to delete these, and I'm going to add different ones. I'm going in and just deleting the captions, and then there's this title. I don't want this title either. All right, so now we're just bare bones. We got 2 scenes, but cool. We're going to create more scenes with the slash or the backslash key. And so at this point, we go to scene 1 here. We want to add some cool looking captions. And this is another really powerful part of Descript, which I love. So go down here to where it says captions, and they're going to give you some, I'm going to move myself here. Let's see if I can move myself. Let me unlock myself here off of my layer, and I'll move myself to kind of, so you can see all of the examples that they give you. And some of them are, basic typewriter. I think the Karaoke Classic is the captioning that they gave that was a part of this thing. I like this one, this bold italic green. You could, by the way, you can change any of the colors. You can change the fonts. This is more of the animation, I think, that you probably should pay attention to. So I like these 2. And this one's cool too. This also has a waveform with it. So we'll go ahead and add this one. And so this will give you an idea of what it looks like when you're adding this and you get the text plus this waveform. So we're applying the captions at this point. And so what it's going to do is it's going to apply the captions to this, and you're going to be able to see, oh, okay, check this out. But you could see it's not really sized that well. If I hit play,
Everything you put out there could be out there forever. So it's always sustainable in a way. Listen, the long.
Okay, so we're going to change that, obviously. I'm going to get this waveform, and I'm going to pull it all the way down to the bottom. There's a couple ways you can do this. Not quite sure why that visual is not going with me. Interesting. All right, so we'll grab the actual captioning, also not moving. Looks like it did eventually. This is interesting.
There forever. So it's always.
We're choking a little bit here. Let's grab this. Let's see if it allows us to do it and move. There we go. Now we're cooking with a little gas. All right. And now we've got that caption not looking big enough, in my opinion, right? So here, by clicking on it, you have this functionality. This is where you choose your font, if there's, if it goes bold or italic, that kind of thing, the size of your font, the color, the way the effects work in it, all kinds of stuff. First of all, I like to use all caps in captioning. You don't have to. If you want to use all lower or upper lower, you can do that. If you click on effects, you're going to get all of this stuff over here you can do to change it, including the name of the font. Again, the type, if it's semi-bold, light, regular, all of that stuff. And then right here, you'll see, do you want standard case or do you want all uppercase? I want all uppercase. Looking a little better. I want it bigger. So I'm going to go to 90. That may be too big for that particular.
Sustainable in a way.
Yeah, it's a little big. I do like the yellow on the red. Kind of looks a little McDonald's. I'm going to pick some of my favorites here. I like Anton SC. That's, pretty cool. Again, when you're talking about captions, you could be as cool as you want to be if you got a really cool font, but ultimately the whole idea with captions is so people can read it. So be careful here and not get too crazy with your fonts. I mean, there's some I usually pick something that's very clear. Like this thing here is Seymour 1. While that's a really cool font, it's really difficult to read as caption. So be careful here. I would just suggest to maybe pick something. I really like Anton SC. And so now you see that, and let's get that a little bit bigger. Let's see what 110 looks like. And now we're going to drag it, click it all scenes, and now we're going to drag it down. And let's see what we look like now.
Everything you put out there could be out there forever. So it's always sustainable in a way. Listen.
Okay. All the way. It also, when you make a scene and then you change captions, something I didn't do is I did not change the captions to affect all scenes, unfortunately. And so the rest of this you can see is dotted. That means, hey, the rest of this does not have this caption. It's fine. We can just drag this over to cover that caption and everything else. I'll show you how to do that. Anyway, I don't love how small this waveform is at the bottom, and I also want it to match the yellow. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to click yellow. So now the waveform is yellow. And then I am going to, let's see what it looks like when it is 15.
Could be out there forever. So it's always.
I need it to be higher. That looks like it's good thickness. So I click on here, which is your fidelity, and then magnitude. So the magnitude is what I want to adjust here to get this up. Don't get too crazy again. You don't want it to be too distracting. You kind of want to just say, hey.
Out there could be out there forever. So it's always
too thick. So I'm going to make this 10.
There forever. So it's always sustainable in a way.
All right. One thing I don't like is that it stays yellow the entire time, and you kind of want it to follow along with words. It's just another little pattern interrupt. It helps people kind of like, see that. So the idea here is that you would come here to this, and let's change it to white and see how that looks. So we've changed that second color to be white. So as she speaks, you're going to see the word show up as white.
Everything you put out there could be out there forever. So it's always
again, subtle, but I think is effective in terms of, okay, I'm paying attention to what she's saying a little bit more, even if I'm listening to it. But certainly as you're watching it on mute, you're able to kind of follow along with the white word. All right, how we doing on time? No questions, so I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to, because I got to edit this stuff, All right, so I did tell you that we created the second scene, but you can see the second scene does not include that new edit that we had that was, that we changed here. Don't worry about it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to grab this and delete it, and that, and delete it. And here we'll just grab the edge of the waveform and drag it to, let me get this out so that and then just drag this all the way to the end like this. And then drag this to the end like this. Sometimes there's a little glitch with Descript, and it will move the layers below or above when they shouldn't be, and you won't see it, but it looks like we're good here. All right. One other thing we got to make mention of here is that you see it's all nice and aligned for
always
Mel,
sustainable in a way. Listen.
All right, now we get here. And so this is the biggest difference, I think, between captioning and, when you use a piece of software to create a bunch of shorts for you and reels for you, they're going to find one spot where those captions should go. And if you're moving things around, those captions, like you can see right here, it covers up James's face, especially, as well as my face. And so what Descript allows you to do within each scene is to move the captions out of people's eyes, out of people's faces, and allows you to kind of like, the whole idea, everyone, is to stop the scroll, right? And to keep people's attention on these shorter videos. And doing this keeps things moving for people and keeps people's attention as they move. So as you create sometimes, 15 different scenes in a particular video like this, the captions are still at the forefront. What's being said is still at the forefront. And the ability to do that, I think, is one of the most powerful parts of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go forward to the next scene, right? And then I'm going to alter that previous scene. So let's go ahead and hit play here, and we'll find a place that we can stop.
Listen, the longer your content's out there, the more subject you are to criticism. It's as simple as that. So again, this is a
Okay, so I want James I want it, like that look on his face, I really like. And so that it's, while she says it's as simple as that. So I'm going to hit the slash key here. It's as simple as that. And then so again. So now I've created 2 scenes. Now it kept the previous scenes. You can see right here. There's the first scene. Here's the second scene, which obviously we need to change the caption on. And then we've created 2 more scenes. This is the one where we're going to want to get James's face. And then here is a third one. So we're back to that one. So let's go up here and let's change this and bring this to the center. And I want to click here where it says current scene. And if I drag this up here, right here, now when I go back to in the end of this scene right here and hit play.
Listen,
now
the
it's
longer your
changed.
content's out there, the more subject you
Now
are
we're coming up to the James face.
criticism. It's as simple as that. So again, this is a long.
All right. So it's as simple as that. This is the James face scene. If you're watching, I know you're loving this. The best way to do this is to click on James's face, and we want him full screen on this one. So what I'm going to do here after clicking on his layer is I'm going to go to position and fill canvas. Now he's filled the canvas, right? But he is he's under all of us in terms of a layer. So I want to bring him to the front, right? And the layer order bring to the front is the right bracket, right? So if I click on James and I hit the right bracket, he comes to the front. Now he's at the front, but what isn't? The captions, right? So now I'm going to hit the shift key and the left bracket, which drops his layer down, and until I can see the captions and the waveform at the bottom. So here I go. I'm going to hit that. Now the captions show up. I hit shift bracket left again, and now I think we see the
criticism.
Yep. Now we see him at that. And here's where he goes.
It's as simple as that.
Now, I just realized he does it and pauses. So what I'm going to do is he says right here. So I'm going to hit a slash here. That's the scene I want him to get the face. This scene right here, we want to keep as the prior one. So in order to do that, I'm going to click on that scene, and here's another little trick you can do. Right click, copy layout. Now I go to that, which I'm changing back to that original scene, and I hit paste layout. All right. Now, what this did is it took away the captioning, but I'm just going to go back to the caption. You can always do this, by the way. Right click, bring to front, right click, bring to front. And then here, I'm going to move the caption back to the center. And so now what we're going to have, conceivably, is the James face coming after we've done all of these other scenes. So let's go. Let's see if this works.
Listen, the longer your content's out there, the more subject you are to criticism. It's as simple as that. So again, this is a long game.
It's as
criticism. It's as simple as that. So again, this is a long game. This is a long game. It's part of what the longer your content's out there, the more subject you are to criticism. It's
Mm.
as simple as that. So again, this is a long
Mhm.
game. This is a long game. It's part of
Perfect. So now we have that face that James made, which is a great pattern interrupt. And so if he wasn't on screen and Mel was just talking, we would just hear him go, mm. And I think it's important to kind of see that these are people having a conversation, right? Part of editing, I think, in a lot of ways. We've got a few more minutes here. I'm just going to keep powering through this.
criticism. It's
Mm.
as simple as that. So again, this is a long
Mhm.
game. This is a long game. It's part of what Chris was saying. You got to put the work in, and part of the work is building thick skin.
Okay, she mentions my name. I like to have, like, if anybody's mentioning somebody else, you want to have that other person on the screen. Another one of my rules, so you know who they're talking to. Again, it's about keeping people's attention. Putting the work in is building thick skin. I think is a great solo phrase. So I'm going to say. Also, this scene does not have captioning for whatever reason is down here. So we want to grab the captions and pull them up, keep them out of the way.
The work is building thick skin. Just the other day, I put a video out and somebody commented, and it was like, it was
Okay, now we're going to get into another function. So building thick skin, put on somebody was like, let's grab this. And we're going to do green screen. Because I'm going to have her, like, she's telling a story. And so I think one of the things I love to do with this is to have the, I'll show you how it works, green screen. So it will cut Mel out, and so there'll be nothing behind her. She'll just be solo by herself. But the story she's telling will be stock video or a video from her behind her. So as she's talking, you're telling the story. You're never taking that person necessarily off the screen. It helps to kind of, compel the watcher and listener. Let's listen to what she has to say.
is building thick skin. Just the other day, I put a video out and somebody commented, and it was like, it was kind of like, I mean, I actually laughed at it. And I was like, oh man, I could respond to this in so many ways. Because they didn't actually give me anything truly productive. They just,
Okay, she's talking about a troll, right? And so, but there's a few kind of, she didn't really get to what she was going to say. I actually laughed at it. And so somebody commented, she says, and it was like, we're going to take off and it was like, and we're going to say, I actually laughed at it. Okay. Make sure there's a scene there.
somebody commented, I actually laughed at it. And I was like, oh man, I could building thick skin. Just the other day, I put a video out and somebody commented, I actually laughed at it. And I was like, oh man, I could respond to this in so many ways. Because they didn't actually give me anything truly productive. They just simply like shared their opinion about.
Okay. She said like, and that I usually create a scene after that because there was a pause. All right. So here we're going to go. We're going to create a story. James and I are back there. Now we can be in a part of the story. So I'm going to keep our scene back here, but I'm going to bring her down here and I'm going to bring the caption sort of out of the way. And now I'm going to do Underlord. We're going to back out of the create clips. Oh God, now I have to, okay, here's another little fun thing we have to do. So up here, you got to go back to your composition that you're at. We got to find that thing. Great. No, these are other ones that I had created. There it is. Think before you post. The internet never forgets is the name of it. All right. I'm not sure why it does that, but like when I go to Underlord, I have to back out of Creative Clips, and then I have to go back and find the clip that I was working on. Probably not a bad idea for me to organize myself before we have to do this. But now we're at Underlord, and now we have green screen. All right, so if I hit green screen, it's gonna carve out. You can see it's Mel by herself. Pretty good that she did that. Now, there's a couple ways we can do this. We can try to find a video of, something related to the story she's telling. And she's telling a story about somebody making a comment, a troll, on one of her shows. And so what we could do, and I'm going to move this down here. And I'm going to move her up here. And then we're going to create a story behind her. And that story can include James or me. So one way we could do this is I could take the individual videos of me. And that's a terrible look on my face. But I'll move me here, and I'll move her out of the way, and I'll move James over here. And maybe we'll flip James this way. Here's another little thing you could do to change. Another little pattern up here is to flip. And so now he's looking over at me, and I could flip me, and I'm looking over at him. My head looks a little big here, so I'm gonna bring him back here like so. Now we look a little more normal. I do not look like I'm very enthused. But now when we bring her up, right, she's in between us. And she's telling a story, and I'm going to move myself down, make myself a little bigger. Show you another little trick here. So the background was taken out of her, and it looks bad on either side of her shoulder, right? Because James and I, while we are in the screen, if I were to make us bigger, it would look kind of weird. So here's another little trick that I do. You guys are getting all the tricks. Is I will take each one of these individual videos and I'll copy them and put them underneath and reverse them. So it basically looks like an extension of that mirrored. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I go here on my video and I hit copy, let's hope this works. And it doesn't. Let me grab a file, or edit, I should say, copy. Click off of it, and I think if I click edit, paste, oh, that did not work. Why did that not work? All right, we got to undo that. Kind of wild. Why is it doing that? Kind of weird. All right, here's what we'll do instead. We'll bring her up like so. And then since she's talking about trolls, we'll find stock videos. There we go. Now sometimes you come with the best solutions by going through problems. All right, so let's go down here to stock, and we'll show you how we do stock on some of these videos. All right. So now we're talking about internet troll, right? Making lame comments. So we can do we just search into stock and let's type in troll. You probably literally see, yeah, I knew you'd see this guy, right? You always see this guy when you see troll. We're not going to put that in the video. That would be cheesy. All right. So it looks like we're actually literally seeing trolls, not internet trolls. Although here's one guy that looks like he's an anonymous guy leaving comments right here. All right, let's see what happens when we add that stock video and we put that behind her and underneath James and myself as a layer and see if this helps to tell the story. So here's our troll, and you could see that we won't even be able to see him or his face unless we drag him all the way over here. And now, remember, we have the shift bracket to be able to drop his layer back behind everything. So we'll hit that, and again, and again. All right, so now what do we have? Let's see what we got. This actually looks like it was, all right.
Commented. I actually laughed at it and I was like, oh man, I could respond to this in so many ways. Because they didn't actually give me anything truly productive. They just simply like shared their opinion about my
Okay,
style. And
I'm keeping that. I actually think that's, like I could adjust a little thing here and a little thing there, but it's like, who is this guy behind her with the, anonymous mask and hacking into the computer? James and I are kind of smiling, looking at it. I like this. All right. So I want to say this right here on this scene needs to be adjusted up, right? And wasn't there one other, I think? All right. We're going to drag James over so he's a little more in the screen here. Let's see what we got so far.
everything you put out there could be out there forever. So it's always sustainable in a way. Listen, the longer your content's out there, the more subject you are to criticism. It's as simple as that. So again, this is a long game. This is a long game. It's part of what Chris was saying. You got to put the work in, and part of the work is building thick skin. Just the other day, I put a video out and somebody commented, I actually laughed at it.
Okay, building thick skin. I'm going to change this scene and have it be solo Mel. It's a pattern interrupt. Remember, we go to position, full canvas, fill canvas, and then we're going to go to current scene, and I'm going to drag this down below her face. And now let's see what we got. This will be better.
It's part of what Chris was saying. You got to put the work in, and part of the work is building thick skin. Just the other day, I put a video out and somebody commented, I actually laughed at it. And I was like, oh man, I could respond to this in so many ways. Because they didn't actually give me.
So you said commented, and so you saw the captions here. There's too much space between commented and eyes. So what I'll do here is I'll replace the space with dots, dot, 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 because she does pause, but I will take out the space. So now the caption looks like this.
Commented, I actually laughed at it. And I was like, oh man, I could respond to this in so many ways. Because they didn't actually give me.
She thought, and so I put thoughts in quotations. All right. And I was like, oh man, I could respond to this so many ways because it actually gave me something truly productive. So many ways, period. Now, if there's ever like transcription error, you need to correct words. You can't just go in and type. You have to highlight whatever it is and then right click and correct in order to do it. But when it comes to punctuation, quotation marks, commas, periods, you can go in and type and it will go ahead and immediately affect the transcription. Now, a little pro tip for you.
Oh man, I could respond to this in so many ways. Because they didn't actually give me anything truly productive. They just simply like shared their opinion about my style. And I was like,
my style. All right. Now, what I would do here is show a video of one of Melanie's shows. So she says, my style. I'd go back to the green screen, and I'll do that right now and have her do this. And then behind her, I'll have like showing a Melanie Diane Howe show because she's referring to her style. Again, we're telling a story here in 42 seconds. And that's what she's trying to say is like, you know what? I could have said this, but they were, thanks for your unsolicited feedback. A really great way to deal with trolls. And so that becomes something that you can take as a video in 42 seconds, and the title would be How to Deal with Internet Trolls, something like that. And that immediately is going to grab somebody's attention. They're going to see somebody, and she's actually giving feedback on how she can respond to somebody, how she thought about it, and how she actually, how you as a creator can go forward and not let these things affect you. So anyway, I hope this video helps you. I'm going to go ahead and change this here. I'm going to add a green screen and an example of Melanie Diane Howe's video. What you can do with that is find a video of one of Mel's live streams and import your own, like I did the stock video here, right? I did this whole troll thing here. but you actually can, as a part of your project, pull in your own videos. So like here I had I took a video of Craig Groeschel doing his talk on what's called bending the curve. And he did this thing, it's totally influential in my life. And he did this acronym called GETMO. And GETMO stands for good enough to move on. In any event, I did this video, or I did this as a part of this. I talked about GETMO on this. And so I went and got him talking about GETMO, and I inserted it behind me as I told the story about it. So that's what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and I'm going to find a clip of Melanie speaking somewhere showing her, how she does her show. And I'm going to do the very same concept here, except I'm going to pull James and myself out of that scene. In fact, let me just do that now. So here we go. Why am I talking about it and not doing it? So easy way to do this, shared opinion about my style. So how do I do this? You know what? We'll just take out this create a new scene. Okay, so it's going to continue this. And let's add a scene back. And so now we have this continuing, right? We've got this scene, and then this scene right here, which is going to show Melanie's show. I'm going to take James out. I'm going to take me out. I'm going to take this. Let's undo that. I'm going to go down here to scene. I'm going to take this hacker and I'm going to hide it, right? So now we have her talking. So we're going from this scene where she's talking about.
I actually laughed at it and I was like, oh man, I could respond
there's
to
the
this
hacker,
in so many ways.
The troll.
Because they didn't actually give me anything.
Then it's going to go to another scene where we disappear.
Productive. They just simply
Here's where
shared their opinion about my style. And
she's going to talk about her style. So we're going to put her style behind her. I'm going to grab a video of her talking to show her style, and then we'll end the video. Once I have all of this done, I take this vertical video and I pull it into Final Cut, and then I add some special sauce to it, which I'll do on another video. How I do it. Usually it's a music bed. I prefer using Final Cut's way of doing music as opposed to Descript's way of doing music. Again, it kind of goes back to a Swiss Army knife. If you got a Swiss Army knife, you might really like the blade in it, and you might really like the toothpick in it. But if you want a real good corkscrew to open up your wine, sometimes you need a good corkscrew to open up your wine. The one that is in the Swiss Army knife isn't good. And so that's the way I kind of utilize a lot of the pieces of software that I have. It's like, this is great for, a handful of things, but I really need it to do this, and it doesn't do this. So I'm going to pull it into somewhere else like Final Cut and be able to do a lot more transitions. I think, the transitions in Descript aren't where I need them to be. I need more movement, more camera movement that's happening inside of these scenes. Can't really do that here. And I do other things like Roto AI and other things like that I do in Final Cut, which I'll do another video and show you how I edit that. But I wanted to do this particular video, kind of show you where I start with these things. I realized this took a very long time for a 42-second video. When you get in this process and you kind of understand it, and you're not talking to people telling them what you're doing, it becomes something that is it's just like riding a bike. And I limit myself. I don't think I take longer than 20 minutes on any one of these videos, and sometimes far less than that. So once you get into this flow, trust me, it'll be great for you. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope it helps somebody.